Good afternoon and welcome to the Government, Military, and Veterans Affairs Committee. I am Senator Tom Brewer representing the 43rd Legislative District, and I serve as chair of this committee. The committee will be taking up bills in the order that are posted on the agenda. Our hearing today is your public part of the legislative process. This is your opportunity to express your positions on proposed legislation before us. Committee members may come and go during the hearing, just part of the process. They have bills to introduce in their committee. So I know we have several different folks that are doing that. Ask that you abide by the following procedures. Please turn off or silence any electronic devices. Please remember that the forward chairs have been designated for the next up to do presentations. Introducing senators will make their initial comments, followed by proponents, opponents, and those in the neutral. Closing remarks are reserved for the introducing senator. If you're planning to testify, please fill out one of the green testifier sheets that's on the back table. When you fill out the green sheet, please print and make it legible. This will be what we use for the official record. And then when you come forward, turn in your green sheets to the committee clerk. If you want to record your presence here but not testify, the gold sheets in back are for that. If you have any handouts, we ask that you provide at least 12 copies. If you don't have 12 copies, we can have one of the pages help you to get additional copies. When you come up to testify, please speak clearly into the microphone, state your name, and then spell both your first and last name for the record. We're using the light system today for all testifiers. Let's see. How many are here to testify on the first bill 936? Okay. We're going to go with 3 minutes. If we need more, we'll just ask you questions and dig it out of you one way or the other. We'll use a light system, so you'll get the amber light with a minute to go and then the red light, and then there will be an audible alarm also. So just understand once those go off, if there's additional information, we'll just ask for questions. No display of support or opposition to bills, vocal or otherwise, will be allowed from the audience. Committee members with us here today will introduce themselves, starting on my right with Senator Rabel.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Jane Rabel from Legislative District 28, which is the center of the city of Lincoln.
Good afternoon, Rita Sanders, District 45, which is the Bellevue Offutt community.
Hi, I'm Ray Aguilar, District 35, Grand Island.
John Lowe, District 37, Gibbon, Kearney, and Shelton.
Good afternoon, Steve Haller in District 33, Adams, Kearney, and Phelps County. And by the way, we're the heart of central Nebraska.
Dick Clark, legal counsel, Julie Cunham, the committee clerk, and the vice chair is Senator Sanders. And with that, flip over the page here. I got some pages to introduce. All right, Kristen, raise your hand back there. She is a political science major, a UNL senior from North Platte and Cameron. And he is a political science history major at UNL senior also from Omaha. With that, we will invite Senator Bostar up to introduce LB 936. Senator Bostar, welcome to the Government Committee.
Thank you. And good afternoon, Chairman Brewer, members of the Government, Military, and Veterans Affairs Committee. My name is Elliot Bostar. That's ELIOTBOSTAR, and I represent Legislative District 29. I'm here today to present LB 936, a bill repealing amusement licenses issued by county boards. Nebraska statute states any roadhouse, dance hall, carnival, show, amusement park, or other place of public amusement outside city limits requires a license from a county board. A roadhouse is defined as a place where any two of the following take place: eating, drinking, and or dancing. LB 936 also repeals a separate but overall similar license for pool halls and bowling alleys. In fiscal year 2022-23, Lancaster County issued only 6 amusement licenses. The fee to issue these licenses is set by statute at $10, and the applicant must also pay for 2 weeks of notices in the newspaper before a county board can vote to approve them. For pool halls and bowling alleys, the fee is $10 per table or lane for the first 3. then $5 each after that. The current state statute on amusement licenses is largely outdated law from the 1930s that predates modern liquor licensing and other regulations. For example, the current definition of roadhouse seems to apply to any restaurant serving alcohol, which are already regulated by the standard liquor licensing process. Similarly, carnival rides and amusement park rides are now regulated by the state fire marshal under the Nebraska Amusement Ride Act, which was adopted in 1987. Now, repealing these licenses could possibly leave some events unregulated if they do not serve alcohol, do not have rides, and do not use any of the public right-of-way. Essentially, sober gatherings on private property. It is unclear why these gatherings should be regulated. The current process is duplicative and confusing, with a number of applicants unsure of whether or not they need an amusement license. For example, a strict reading of the definition of roadhouse suggests that nearly every restaurant, wedding venue, or other event space outside of city limits is required to have an amusement license, which does not seem to be current practice. Additionally, the broad term of place of public amusement is undefined. Many amusement licenses are processed alongside a special designated license or SDL liquor license, meaning the applicant has to apply for 2 licenses for the same event. The amusement license already requires a longer legal notice than liquor licenses, 2 weeks versus 1 week, which adds to the confusion. LB 936 seeks to repeal the outdated and often burdensome licensing requirements in current statute, and I urge the committee to advance this legislation and be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Senator Bostar. I see that there doesn't seem to be a lot of opposition to this bill. We haven't got everybody in the room here yet, but who brought you the bill, or how'd you get the idea on this?
I think we might actually have someone that can speak to this, but Lancaster County effectively brought me the bill. It's my understanding that there was some question of whether or not the county was spending more money processing and hearing these licenses than the $10 fee could recoup. And I believe the conversation started around, should this fee be higher in order to actually pay for the service that the county was doing? And I think that led to an examination of what we're actually talking about, and the very, very clear and obvious result being that we should get rid of these.
Okay. All right, questions for Senator Bostar? Yes.
Thank you, Chairman Brewer. Thank you, Senator Bostar. Technically, the Capitol building does not qualify as being, or would
Amusing?
Well, no, that's
Definitely not.
It's entertainment. but-
Wrong.
well, okay. You guys just took away my punchline. So-
I apologize, Senator.
No, you're.
All right, any other questions for Senator Bostar? All right, you'll stay, oh, yes, Senator Rabel.
You know, Senator Bostar, how do the pumpkin patches fall into that? They would not have to get that $10 fee if we approve this, correct?
If
They don't have any rides. Hay rides.
if something was a ride, they would, or if they had food and potentially dancing, then they would, or food and drink, they would, or drink and dancing, they would. Now, do they? I don't think so, but a strict reading of the statute would suggest that they, under the law, should apply for these. And that doesn't seem to make a lot of sense.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any additional questions?
It's an amusing bill.
All right,
Thank you.
you'll stick around for close?
I wouldn't miss it.
No, we wouldn't want you to miss it. All right, proponents, first up. Well, welcome back to the Government Committee.
Good afternoon, Chairman Brewer, members of the Government, Military, and Veterans Affairs Committee. I'm Nicole Fox, NICOLE-FOX with the Platt Institute, Director of Government Relations, and I'm here to testify in favor of LB 936. And I thank some of these gentlemen behind me for letting me skip in front, since I do have to get over to revenue to testify on a bill. LB 936 is a very simple bill. It repeals 11 sections of statutes in Chapter 23. These sections are statutes that grant the counties the ability to deny licensing or to license pool halls and bowling alleys outside of the city limits. It does the same for certain roadhouses, dance halls, carnivals, and amusement parks. Aside from outdated language and the fact that virtually all of these sections of statute were first created in either 1913 or 1931, they were likely part of the Prohibition era movements to limit the locations where alcohol could be consumed. And as Senator Bostar indicated, it's a duplicative license and it makes no fiscal sense. 936 is an example of being proactive and evaluating regulations that may no longer be relevant. Since these laws are antiquated and serve little purpose, we're happy to support full repeal. Any questions?
All right, thank you. Questions?
All right.
All right, so you're saying that Senator Bostar has a good bill?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Very good.
All right, any additional proponents? John, welcome back to the Government Committee.
Thank you, Chairman Brewer. Members of the Government, Military, and Veterans Affairs Committee, my name is John Cannon, Joncannon. I'm the Executive Director of the Nebraska Association of County Officials. You may have heard of us referred to as NACO from time to time. Here to testify today in very happy support of LB 936. Thanks to Senator Bostar for bringing this to our attention, because when he did, we looked at each other in the office and said, people actually do that. We weren't aware of exactly what evil was trying to be prohibited by having these sorts of things issued. And so we did a very quick and dirty survey yesterday. We got 59 responses from the counties. Less than a couple of dozen of these things have been issued in the last 5 years. And most of them have come from 2 counties in particular. I won't say which ones. One of them is represented by a senator in this room, but I'm not going to get into that. By virtue of the fact that this is something that is observed more often in the breach, we think this is unnecessarily duplicative and could easily be removed from our statutes, and I don't think anyone would notice or cry about them being done. I'm happy to take any questions.
All right, thank you for your testimony. Questions for John? All right, we'll mark another one down for Bostar.
Thank you.
All right, additional proponents to LB 936. Welcome to the Government Committee.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chairman Brewer and members of the committee. My name is Matt Hansen, Matthansen, and I'm the Lancaster County Clerk. And I'm testifying in support today on behalf of my office, as well as on behalf of the Lancaster County Board of Commissioners. The current amusement license requirements do cause a lot of confusion with applicants and potential applicants in our office, as many of the terms are undefined. For context, last year, Lancaster County issued 7 total amusement licenses. 2 were for music performances. 2 were for different races or runs. There was a farm tour, a craft fair, and a fundraising dinner. I don't think these are the type of events that the statute originally envisioned regulating. Additionally, it's probably safe to say that there are other events that do happen in our counties that are substantially similar and have not needed to apply for these licenses. Given the types of events, as well as the limited number that do apply, I think it's safe to repeal these requirements, which would eliminate an often confusing requirement for the public looking to host an event on private property. In working with applicants, people are often surprised that the license exists in the first place, and there are cases where it's not exactly clear whether a license is technically required. For example, last summer, our office was asked whether a bicycle race needed an amusement license, and there simply was not a clear answer, a clear way for our office to give an immediate answer. It's because a place of public amusement is undefined. There's not a good way to say that's a public amusement. Ultimately, that organization did choose to apply, and that was one of the licenses the board granted. In processing these licenses, my office needs to work with the applicant as well as coordinate with several other departments, including the sheriff, engineering, planning, health department, and sometimes the county attorney. This is in addition to providing customer service to the applicant and preparing the materials themselves for the county board meetings. It's a fair amount of staff time across several departments and a lot of paperwork for the applicant to track for each license. I think eliminating these licenses would end a confusing requirement for our constituents while leaving in place protections with clearer licenses like liquor licenses. This would reduce the paperwork and red tape for people looking to host events, and I would urge your support of LB 936.
Thank you, Matt. Okay, questions? Senator Lowe.
So is it good working with a 3-minute time limit now that you're out of office here?
Yeah, I was
Right on time.
Right on time. I think I did 2 minutes.
No, you did great on time. And the other thing that's noticeable is, and you see that a lot, is people who finish in the legislature, they come back and they look younger and happier, and I don't know why that is.
Look at this.
I'm definitely one of those things, yes.
Okay, yes, Senator Sanders.
Thank you, Chairman Brewer. Does this license
Mhm.
connect any way the city to if there's an event that it prompts maybe road closure or police services that need to be part of that entertainment that's going on at that point? Or I just don't want,
Right.
I want to make sure it doesn't tie into city services that might be needed when they apply for this.
So I can't speak for every county, but our county has a special events permit that they've created via resolution that basically says if you want to close down a road or use a road for parking or have a, race on a road, marathons, whatnot, you go through that place and coordinate with the engineer and sheriff. And at least in our county, that would still be in place. If you're planning and using the public right of way for, a race or parking, you would still have to kind of get approval from the sheriff and the recommendations from the sheriff and engineer and approval from the county board.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, additional questions, Senator Lowe.
So a bike race
Mhm.
you brought up. So is there any kind of, what do they need to do then to fulfill your requirements for a bike race through the county?
Yeah, in that case, it's largely just sharing their route with the county engineer and county sheriff and making sure the roads are actually going to be open those days, that, they're not planned for maintenance or things of that nature. And usually, with we just worked with a race not that long ago, and it's, just the road's going to be open. Are there traffic the sheriff needs to be aware of? Generally people who are interested in hosting that will take feedback and change the route. It works out pretty smoothly.
So no fees or anything are involved. It's just,
I believe that might be no fees on that one.
Okay.
All right.
Got it. All right, any additional questions? All right, man, thank you for your testimony.
Thank you.
Okay, we are still on LB 936 proponents. Anyone else out there? All right, we'll go to opponents. Those in the neutral. All right, Senator Bostar, come on back. I think you hit a home run.
Thank you, Chairman Brewer, members of the committee. And yeah, just to kind of follow up, Senator Sanders, it's, if you want to access the public right of way, there's other things you need to do. So repealing this doesn't just give individuals free rein to close streets and what other, things they might want to do. This feels like a common sense bill that I hope will be supported broadly. My intention would be, if it can exist this session, is to make this a consent bill. With that, I'd be happy to answer any final questions, and I appreciate your time and attention to this matter.
All right, any questions for Senator Bostar? Yes, Senator Rabel.
Well, maybe it's what do we have to do to make it a consent bill? Because I don't think we practiced that last year, did we?
Well, no, we didn't. So what'll happen, his bill meets the criteria. There's no one in opposition, no one spoke in opposition. So I'll put a list together of bills like that and then submit them to the speaker and ask that, and I think he's looking at 2 consent calendars, so we'll try and get as much as we can on the first, so then we might pick us up on the second too, but it's a perfect candidate for it. So one more time around and no questions. All right. Well, thank you for
Thank you all very much.
presenting 936. There's 1 letter in a proponent, 0 opponents, and 0 in the neutral, and then we'll close our hearing on LB 936 and we'll get set for our next bill 938 and invite Senator Brandt on up. Senator Brandt, welcome to the Government Committee.
Well, good afternoon, Senator Brewer and members of the Government Committee. I'm Senator Tom Brandt, T-O-M-B-R-A-N-D-T. I represent Legislative District 32, Fillmore, Thayer, Jefferson, Saline, and southwestern Lancaster counties. Today, I'm introducing LB 938, which would make updates to the County Purchasing Act. This proposal makes changes to the threshold values for competitive bids, informal bids, and open market bids, taking into consideration inflation and economic changes. The last time these were updated was 2018. These threshold changes would be: 1, increasing the minimum threshold required for competitive bids from the current $50,000 to $70,000. And the handout that we handed out will track a lot of these numbers as we go through. Then another increase in 2029 to 90,000, and finally an increase in 2034 to 110,000. As an aside here, a competitive bid is one that they currently have to get 3 bids for as a county board. Second one, increasing the minimum threshold required for informal bids from the current $10,000 to $50,000 range, increasing it $15,000 to $70,000, and then increasing it by $20,000 in 2029, and again in 2034. An informal bid would be maybe they only get 2 bids on something instead of the required 3. And then the third one would be increasing the maximum bid for open market purchases from $10,000 to $15,000 by another $5,000 in 2029 and another $5,000 in 2034. And an open market purchase is you just tell your county highway superintendent to go down and buy something without a competitive bid. It also makes changes to the selling of surplus county property and obsolete mobile equipment. And these changes would be increasing the surplus property sales amount from $2,500 to $3,500, and raising it again in 2029 to $4,500, and finally to $6,000 in 2034. And on mobile equipment, we'll increase from $5,000 to $7,000, then increase to $9,000 in 2029 and $12,000 in 2034. An example, the county yard's got some junk sitting around there, and Halloran comes in there and he offers them, $3,000 for it. Under the new guidelines, they can just sell it to him. Otherwise, they got to get on I believe, and these guys behind me, you've got a couple county commissioners that'll clarify this. Otherwise, I believe the sheriff has to have a sheriff's sale. You got to have 3 bidders there. This just streamlines things. Mobile equipment, basically, you've got an old dump truck or something sitting there in the weeds, and somebody comes in and makes you an offer on it. It's within this range, and then your commissioners or your county highway superintendent can just sell the equipment. This would allow a county not to cancel a public auction where only 1 or 2 people show up when 3 are required. This proposal also outlines circumstances under which competitive bidding may be waived, ensuring flexibility in response to emergencies or when substantial cost savings can be realized through special purchases or auctions. An example of this would be if a road grader were up for auction on Big Iron, which is an online auction site. A county board may pass a resolution stating that they can bid up to an agreed amount for the equipment. In conclusion, the proposed changes to the Nebraska County Purchasing Act represent a thoughtful and pragmatic approach to modernizing the county's purchasing procedures. The updated thresholds and flexibility in procurement processes will contribute to increased efficiency, transparency, and responsible financial management within Nebraska's counties. Following me will be county commissioners that can better explain how this will help them. I would also like to note that we talked with the Nebraska Press Association today on some concerns that they have with the posting of bids by the county. And we agree with their changes, and we'll be happy to work with the Press Association and the committee to make that happen. With that, I would end my opening and be happy to answer any questions the committee may have.
All right, thank you for that opening. Now, if you want to do those changes, then are you going to want us to do a committee amendment to the bill then, or would that be on the floor, or how would you?
Well, the only little tweak here that I just kind of found out today, and maybe Mr. Cannon can address that. Today, when you go to the back of the newspaper, you've got all those legals. And obviously the Press Association likes having all the legalese in the newspaper as opposed to posting it on the county website. So there may be a possibility of a very small tweak to this to cover that.
Well, the reason I'm bringing it up is you too, depending on how things shake out the rest of the day here, might be a good candidate for a consent calendar.
Oh, this would be an excellent candidate for the
Yeah,
consent
okay.
calendar.
Thanks for putting those words in my mouth. But it gets a little more complicated as we go into
Yes.
amendments. So.
Yes, and in the bill itself, there are some definitions, some language in there, and maybe Mr. Cannon can address that when he gets up here on an emergency, on the Open Meetings Act, how they can have an emergency meeting. Your highway superintendent comes in and says, hey, there's this 5-year-old road grader we think we can get bought for $100,000. And then the board can pass a resolution with 5 days notice on their website, and obviously couldn't get it into the weekly newspaper at that point. That's about the only situation that I saw in going through the bill that they might find an exception with, and they might be able to work with us on that. And we'll follow up on that.
Yeah, there might be a way of digitally getting that information out too that might suffice. So
Yep.
We'll see. All right, questions for Senator Brandt? All right, you stick around for close?
Yeah, I'll stick around.
Thank you. All right, first proponent. Welcome back to the Government Committee.
Thank you, Senator Brewer. Good afternoon, Senators of the Government, Military, and Veterans Affairs Committee. My name is Mark Shanerock, MarkSchoenrock. I am testifying today in support of LB 938. I was born and raised in Jefferson County and served our country as an officer of the United States Army for over 40 years. I led the logistical support of the United States Combat Forces, including the supply, maintenance, transportation, and service of the combat force. So the subject of this bill is a topic with which I'm very familiar. Upon returning home to Nebraska in 2015, I became a Jefferson County Commissioner and was also elected as the Nebraska Association of County Officials Southeast Director, representing the 17 counties of Southeast Nebraska. The costs of all inputs required for the administration of county government have increased significantly in recent years to include equipment, parts, fuel, personnel, insurance, and services of all kinds. The 93 counties in Nebraska county government must procure all of these to provide the essential services to our citizens that reside in county government. The proposed legislation modifies the levels for competitive sealed bidding, informal bids, and purchases in the open market, which much better match the market conditions that we face every day. The proposed legislation makes other adjustments as well, which will greatly aid the administration of county government. Please support this needed legislation. Thank you. And again, my name is Commissioner Mark Shanerock.
All right, thank you, Mark. And thank you for your service. I thought I was long in the tooth at 36, 40 years. That's a lot of your life to wear the uniform. All right, so if we go by kind of the intro that Senator Brandt did and the numbers and the scale, this all kind of clicks to where it makes sense and those numbers are reasonable.
It does. Yeah, it does. You know, as I stated, Senator, in my testimony, the cost of all those inputs have increased significantly. You know, we're all paying that, whether as individuals, families, county government, state government, et cetera. And so with those levels increased, as Senator Brandt has proposed in this bill, it is very synonymous with what we're actually seeing in the marketplace.
All right, excellent. Okay, questions, Mark? All right.
Okay.
Get out of
No,
here.
thank you.
Easy. All right, next up for 938. Welcome to the Government Committee.
Thank you, Chairman Brewer and members of the committee. My name is Darrell, D-A-R-R-E-L-L, Zabrocki, Z-A-B-R-O-C-K-I. And I am here to testify in support of LB 938. And I'd like to thank Senator Brandt for introducing this bill on behalf of the counties. I was elected to the Seward County Board in 2020. And we all remember the supply chain issues of 2020. And when we needed new equipment or even parts, they were virtually impossible to obtain. Waiting lists were long, especially for the heavy equipment counties use every day to maintain roads and to clear snow. When we would see the equipment we needed at an auction, it was a challenge to move quickly enough to buy it. To follow the requirement of the County Purchasing Act, we had to publish notice of a special purchase of at least 5 days prior, state the item to be considered, and invite informal quotes. In Seward County, we are fortunate to be able to publish in the Seward County Independent, which is a weekly paper, and to the Lincoln Journal-Star, which is a daily paper. But many counties do not have a daily paper, and by the time a weekly publication comes out, these items are more than likely already sold. LB 938 updates the process that was adopted in 1985 so that counties could clearly make purchases at auctions. Thank you for your time. We'll take any questions.
All right, thank you for your testimony. So we have questions for you. Questions? Just one quick one. So if you go to a sale, a Big Iron or whoever it might be, and you see something that you need there, that's a informal bid or a competitive bid? How is that if you're at an auction and you see something you need and you want to get it?
As it stands right now, I don't think we could buy it without, going through the
The
formal
bidding
process. If we have this legislation, I think we can make an on-site decision that if this particular piece of equipment meets our needs, we can pull the trigger and buy it. So therein lies, I think, one of the good ideas that comes forth with this legislation.
No, that's perfect. That's the way I thought it was, but thank you for confirming that. All right, one more time. All right, well, thank you for your testimony.
Thank you, Senator.
Okay, additional proponents for LB 938. Yeah, we'll make it work.
Thank you.
All right, welcome to the Government Committee.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Senator Brewer and the rest of your government committee. Good afternoon. My name is Carl Grotluschen, CarlGrotlueschen. I am a Colfax County Commissioner from District 2 in Colfax County. First of all, I'd like to say thank you to Senator Brandt for introducing LB 938 on behalf of our Nebraska counties. I've been a Colfax County Commissioner for 5 years. My experience with the county purchasing in today's climate of high prices consumes too much time with the current Purchasing Act with its restrictive dollar amounts. Prices have increased and availability has changed over the last few years. We're having to competitively bid prices that fall under the $50,000 threshold. We want to ensure that the public knows how their tax dollars are being spent, but we recognize that things cost more today. We want to be good stewards of taxpayers' time and dollars by not going through the full competitive bidding process for items that can be purchased informally. I support the changes to the special purchase provisions so that it clears the counties can buy at auction and dispose of surplus property at online or live auctions. I appreciate the time and effort that Senator Brandt has devoted to updating the Nebraska Purchasing Act to get it current in today's business climate. I encourage the legislature to support this bill to improve our county's ability to function in a more effective and fiscally responsible manner. I'd be happy to take questions and make comment on current purchasing situations that we have encountered. Thank you, Carl Grotluschen.
All right, thank you, Carl. Let's say we don't have some questions for you. Questions?
Thank you.
All right. Thank you for your testimony. Thanks for making the trip. We appreciate it.
You're very welcome.
All right. Additional proponents. I had a hunch you'd be coming back to see us. All right, welcome back.
Thank you, Chairman Brewer. Members of the Government, Military, and Veterans Affairs Committee. My name is John Cannon, Joncannon. I'm the Executive Director of the Nebraska Association of County Officials, also known as NACO, here to testify in support of LB 938. I want to thank Senator Brandt in particular for having brought this bill forward. This is something that was brought to the NACO board last October as one of our legislative priorities, and Senator Brandt was gracious enough to carry this bill on our behalf. And I seem to recall that he said it just made sense, and we think so too. The reasons for that we have a County Purchasing Act in the first place are sound. But we did build in flexibility for those, either those low cost or those routine purchases that counties have to make. And so the changes that you see here, primarily as far as prices are concerned, but also the ability to have bid on things at auction, are really designed to meet that flexibility. Certainly in the modern environment, you'll see that, like you had said, Senator Brewer, when Big Iron has something, we don't really always have the time to post it, put the notice out in the papers and all that sort of thing. And so that flexibility is necessary for us to really bring that value back home for our taxpayers. You heard from the county commissioners. I don't need to belabor the points that they already all made. I will mention that I picked the county commissioners whose names are the most difficult to spell, or at least I had to learn how to spell them myself when I was first introduced to them. I think Senator Brandt had mentioned earlier that we probably need an amendment to satisfy some of the concerns from the Press Association. We fully support that. We want to make sure that notice, when necessary, is able to be had. And one thing I do want to mention, if you have never observed the bidding process or the claims paying process in your home counties, I would certainly invite you to do so, because it is one of those things that it takes time, and we don't have any quarrel with that, but it is one of the things that is very particular to county government. I mean, you go to a county board meeting, they're spending most of the meeting paying claims. And, this gives us the flexibility to do that in a better and more fastidious fashion. And so I urge your support, and I'm happy to take any questions you might have.
All right, thank you, John. Let's see if we got any questions for you. Questions for John Cannon? All right, thank you for your testimony.
Thank you, sir.
Any additional proponents to LB 938? Is there anybody here in the neutral? Anybody here in opposition? All right, Senator Brandt, come on back.
So I would like to thank Mark, Darrell, and Carl, without saying their last names, for driving up here today and taking the time. I've got 5 county commissions that I regularly speak in front of, and these guys do the work, and they put the time in, and they care about the counties, and they really care about getting a good deal for their taxpayers. And in a lot of these counties, 85% of it is about bridges and roads, and those are very expensive, and gravel isn't getting any cheaper, and equipment's not getting any cheaper. A new CAT road grader right now is $400,000. So these numbers were last updated in 2018, and the new numbers were arrived at using CPI. Where should they be today? Where should they be 5 years from now? And that's kind of how they arrived at these numbers. And with that, thank you for your consideration.
All right, well, thank you for your testimony on and bringing this bill. Obviously, it's a well-received bill. See if we have any questions. Yes, Senator Aller.
For clarification, it only takes one dissenting vote for non-consent calendar.
Would probably be true.
Yes, that is.
It's true.
All right, any other questions? All right, thank you.
Yep.
That will close our hearing on LB 938. We have 3 proponents, no opponents, and none in the neutral. We will swap to our next bill. So the next bill up is LB 940. And we are going to have Senator Dorn give an opening on 940. Senator Dorn, whenever you're ready.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, members of the Government, Military, and Veterans Affairs Committee. My name is Myron Dorn, M-Y-R-O-N-D-O-R-N. I represent District 30. I'm here today to present LB 940, which addresses an issue raised by an audit of Gage County by the State Auditor's Office. During the audit, and Gage County has had the last several years, they've had the state auditor do the audit for Gage County because they have the original one they had from Gage County retired, and they haven't been able to hire anybody else. The state auditor reviewed payments made to a nonprofit organization who provided services to survivors of sexual assault and domestic violence. The auditor raised the issue that state statute does not specifically state these types of payments can be made. I reached out to State Auditor Mike Foley and the auditor who raised the concern, Jeff Scherer. We met, and the auditor's office drafted the language you see in LB 940. I want to thank Mike Foley, Jeff Schreier, and the legal counsel from the auditor's office for the willingness to address this issue and work on language in LB 940. Their cooperation is much appreciated. Simply put, the bill permits, it does not require a county to enter into agreements with nonprofit organizations that provide services for sexual assault victims and domestic abuse survivors. It is permissive. It grants a statutory authority for a county to make these payments if they so choose. The bill is really that simple. Jeff Schreier from the state auditor's office is here to testify, along with some other representative of organizations who would again be eligible to receive these funds as they had in the past. I would ask the committee to give favorable consideration to LB 940, and thank you. And this Hope Crisis is based out of Fairbury, who handles several counties down there. They reached out to me once Gage County, when the audit was done by the state, they raised the concern about that organization or that type of organization being able to allocate county funds to or public funds to. All this does basically is now put it in statute, so that is an eligible entity. So really appreciate State Auditor Mike Foley helping with this so that we can clarify some of that or put that in there so it's now something that they've been doing in the past that now doesn't raise I call it so-called red flag when they do the audit.
No, thank you for your explanation. You took it and made it so you could understand it.
Yeah.
Because if you read the bill,
Yeah.
it doesn't flow quite as smooth as your
No, not quite as
explanation there.
few. Well, Barry DeKay brought up the comment this morning was some of those questions in judiciary dumbed down. I mean, some of the answers dumbed down so he could understand them, and that's me too sometimes. We have to be able to explain them. This doesn't require Gage County or any county to allocate those funds, but it now lists, along with the other organizations, it lists them in the statute that they are eligible.
Excellent. All right, let's see if we have any questions. Questions for Senator Dorn? All right, you'll stick around for close?
Yes.
All right, thank you. So we will start with proponents to LB 940. Welcome back to the Government Committee.
Thank you, Senator Brewer. Senators, once again, good afternoon. I'm going to skip the first part of my testimony that you have in front of you there. I'll go right to the heart of the matter. LB 940 was introduced by Senator Dorn of District 30 and sponsored by Senator Brandt of District 32. And we're
Can
grateful.
we have you, even though you're back a second time, can we do the spelling?
Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot that line. Sorry. My name is Mark Shanerock, M-A-R-K, S-C-H-O-E-N-R-O-C-K. Thank you. We're grateful to Senator Dorn and Senator Brandt for their support of this bill. And as Senator Dorn stated, this issue was raised in a recent Gage County audit by the state auditor. But I might add also that other counties have had this similar finding from the state auditor regarding county payments to nonprofits. Senator Dorn met with the state auditor, Mike Foley, and his staff. And after much conversation, the legal counsel for the state auditor drafted this language, which is addressed in LB 940. We're very grateful for their support of this vital legislation. LB 940 is basically to clarify that counties and units of local government can provide funds to local nonprofits for their community. Jefferson County, among many others, agreed to enter into a memorandum of understanding for the 2023-2024 year to support these entities. The passage of LB 940 will alleviate any apprehension in continuing to substantively partner with many nonprofit entities who support our constituents in a variety of ways, including our very own Hope Crisis Center, which is headquartered in Fairbury, serving our constituents who are affected by domestic and or sexual violence in a multi-county area of southeast Nebraska. We as county commissioners believe in the missions of these nonprofit organizations as they improve the lives of our fellow Nebraskans daily. They help families and sometimes they even save lives. Please support this needed legislation, and we appreciate each of you for your service here in this committee. And I'd be happy to take any questions.
All right, thank you for the testimony. See if we got any questions for you. Questions? All right, thank you again. Okay, still looking at proponents to 940. Welcome to the Government Committee.
Good afternoon, Chairman Brewer and members of the committee. My name is Jeff Schreier, Jeffschreier. I'm an audit manager for the Auditor of Public Accounts and am appearing on behalf of Auditor Foley and our office in support of LB 940. To start, I would like to point out that the APA tries to avoid taking a position on policy matters unless, of course, a particular issue has a direct impact upon our operations and ability to examine the handling and expenditure of public funds. This is necessary to maintain auditor independence, which is fundamental to everything we do. With LB 940, the APA support is not based on policy, whether or not it's a good idea to pursue this particular course of action. Again, that is not for us to decide. Rather, our support is in recognition of the fact that a political subdivision is taking proper action with the assistance of Senator Dorn to acquire clear statutory authority to expend public funds on something that is deemed important to its community. As some of you may be aware, the APA follows government auditing standards when performing financial audits. In addition to requiring auditor independence, these mandatory auditing standards direct us to test for an auditee's compliance with laws, rules, regulations, contracts, and grant agreements. Unlike the Attorney General's office, we do not issue legal opinions or offer legal advice, but determining such compliance is essential to the audit process nonetheless. We approach this obligatory testing of compliance being acutely aware of the fact that both the Nebraska Supreme Court and the Attorney General have emphasized the strict legislative parameters within which this state's political subdivisions must operate. The court has said that political subdivisions are a creation of statute and only have the powers granted to them by the legislature. When any doubt exists as to those powers, such doubt must be resolved against the grant of those powers. With this judicial guidance in mind, whenever the APA audits a political subdivision, one of the first things we ask when testing a particular expenditure is, what is the statutory authority for this payment? We always try to figure that out ourselves. If unable to do so, we will then ask the auditee to direct us to the applicable statute. If it can, that concern is put to rest. However, if the auditee also comes up with nothing, an audit finding is likely to result. LB 940 grew out of the APA's audit of Gage County. As was noted, one of the payments we selected for testing was a payment to Hope Crisis Center, and we could not find the necessary statutory authority. For the record, nobody doubts the importance of or the need for such services, but as explained already, we are barred from taking policy concerns into consideration. When it comes to donations of public funds in particular, no matter the purpose, we are guided by the Nebraska Supreme Court. In a case involving a public power district payment to a charitable organization. The court concluded that in the absence of express statutory authorization, the court found that the district was without authority to make these contributions. We explained our concerns to the Gage County officials, and they expressed their intention to seek a legislative remedy to this issue, which is something we support wholeheartedly. In conclusion, our office supports this bill, and we appreciate Senator Dorn for introducing this. Happy to answer any questions.
Let's see if we have any questions for you. Questions? All right. Thank you for your testimony. You got a lot in those pages.
I did. I tried to read fast.
Well, yeah, and you did fine.
Right.
You probably come in thinking 5 minutes and I shorted you to 3.
I
So,
did.
well, you made up the time. Well done. All right. I see you back there snapping the whip and bringing them forward.
If only I could do that at home, sir.
John, welcome back to the Government Committee.
We'll be careful.
Chairman Brewer, members of the Government, Military, and Veterans Affairs Committee. My name is John Cannon, Joncannon. I'm the Executive Director of the Nebraska Association of County Officials, also known as NACO, here to testify today in support of LB 940. Thanks to Senator Dorn for bringing this bill. As a former Gage County Supervisor, he understands exactly what counties have to go through, as far as what they can and cannot do. And so we certainly appreciate him bringing this bill that would provide us with the legislative authority to essentially provide a public good. And I'll get to that in just a second. We generally support public-private partnerships. We think those are good things, especially when they can deliver services more nimbly or more cost-effectively than government does. This is a public good. And generally speaking, one of the tests as to whether or not something as a public good as if it's a service that the county is relieved from otherwise providing. And this is one of those things that over history, you've seen these sorts of shelters or these sorts of organizations being supported at the county level, and to the extent that this is, again, clearly, in my opinion, fits within the definition of a public good, is something that having the authority to make donations to these sorts of things is exactly what our taxpayers would expect. And certainly we appreciate the authority being extended through this bill. Happy to take any questions you may have.
All right, thank you. Let's see if we have questions. Questions. All right, seeing none. John, thank you for coming to testify.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, additional proponents. Welcome to the government committee.
Good afternoon. Senator Brewer, members of the committee, my name is Kristen McTaggart, Christon, last name Mactaggart. I am the executive director of the Nebraska Coalition to End Sexual and Domestic Violence. We are testifying in support of LB 940 on behalf of our 20-member programs. We are the support agency for the 20 programs across the state that provide statutorily mandated crisis intervention, support, and prevention services to survivors of domestic violence, sexual violence, and human trafficking. Collectively, they cover all 93 counties. These programs are, the statutorily mandated services are outlined in Nebraska's Protection from Domestic Abuse Act. And these programs are funded through state and federal grants, donations, fundraising, some state general funds, and for many of them through county funds or funds from their local government. This bill directly impacts their ability to retain county funds now and in the future. Hope Crisis Center is one of the programs that you've heard mentioned. They are one of our member programs. In every county in Nebraska, these programs are the primary referral source for law enforcement and prosecutors when working with domestic abuse, stalking, sexual violence. They provide legal advocacy, they assist with protection orders, and they help survivors plan for their safety every day based on those relationships and those referrals. Because of that, we also know that victim outcomes are better. A significant body of research supports that victims referred to community-based advocacy agencies by the criminal system report fewer mental health impacts and fear and higher rates of ability to leave abusive partners and be involved in system intervention such as prosecution. It also impacts homeless or unhoused individuals due to domestic violence and effectively helps lower counties' costs by partnering with community-based domestic and sexual violence advocacy programs. So these funds are especially crucial for some of our programs as we've continued to see increases in services, especially since 2020, with about 10 to 15% increases in victims and children served every year. In 2023, this meant that around 50,600 shelter nights were provided and over 14,000 survivors were served across the state. Additionally, things like rising costs due to inflation means that programs are often over budgets for basic things like shelter, gas, utilities, at the same time as they're also receiving cuts in some of their federal funding sources. So this will help alleviate potential additional cuts through the county, which would impact their ability to provide that support. So for all of these reasons, the solution to ensuring county funding to the program continues will help allow them to maintain services, and we appreciate Senator Dorn being willing to move forward with this bill. We thank you for your consideration of it. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
All right, thank you for your testimony. Let's see if we have any questions for you. Questions? All right. Thank you again. Okay, any additional proponents to 940? All right, anybody here in opposition? Anybody here in the neutral? All right, Senator Dorn, come on back. Now, I don't want to appear as though I'm coaching you here, but you had 23 letters in support, none in opposition and none in the neutral. You had great testifiers with good documented testimony and nobody in opposition and nobody in the neutral. I would, if I was you, recommend that I do a letter referring this as a consent calendar item. But you could do whatever you want.
No, thank you very much. That is a goal of ours, and we sure will have that work done and forwarded to you. All I wanted to do was thank everybody for coming and testifying and presenting in front of the committee and stuff. So thank you guys for taking the time. Thank you for listening.
All right, see if we have any questions before we let you go here.
First of all, it's gotta come out of committee.
Yeah, it's gotta come out. Get ready. I forgot that's all right. We'll pick a day when he's not here. All right, with that, we'll close out again. 23 letters in support, none in opposition and none in the neutral. That'll close our hearing on LB 940 and we'll get reset for LB 1103.
All right. Thank you. It's only been an hour.
Take your time, Ray. We're ahead of schedule. Okay, we'll go to LB 1103 now. Ray, whenever you're ready, go ahead and kick her off.
Good afternoon, Chairman Brewer, members of the Government, Military, and Veterans Affairs Committee. For the record, my name is Ray Aguilar, spelled R-A-Y-A-G-U-I-L-A-R, and I represent District 35. I'm here before you today to introduce LB 1103. The bill expands upon the Nebraska Tourism Commission's existing Innovative Tourism Grant Program to authorize the use of grants to reduce total bid prices for Nebraska locations to be chosen as event sites. The bill also requires at least 35% of grants be awarded to communities or organizations in counties with less than 100,000 residents to ensure that the grant program reaches the entire state. Currently, Grand Island is an attractor of youth livestock shows held at Fauner Park. These shows bring thousands of out-of-state visitors and tourism dollars to central Nebraska. For Grand Island, this is the equivalent of the College World Series in Omaha or the Husker home games in Lincoln. Our business and sales tax revenue are greatly impacted when one of these shows are in town. The Grand Island facilities are owned by Fauner Park, a nonprofit organization, and the livestock shows are run by the Grand Island Livestock Complex Authority, or GILCA, another nonprofit made up of representatives of the Nebraska State Fair, Fauner Park, Chamber of Commerce, and Convention and Visitors Bureau. GILCA's mission is to promote year-round use of world-class livestock show facilities at Fauner Park. Unfortunately, these livestock shows are growing increasingly more competitive to land. Our competitors include facilities in Iowa, Texas, Oklahoma, Missouri, and Kentucky. These facilities are often state-owned, which means they can arbitrarily lower the costs by putting on the livestock shows to gain a competitive advantage in the bidding process. As a nonprofit, GILCA does not have that luxury and has scrambled in recent years to cut costs and look for dollars elsewhere to offer competitive prices in their bids. We have world-class facilities at Fauner Park, and we are well known in the livestock show industry. I do not want to see us fall behind because of how Fauner Park is owned and operated. LB 1103 is an avenue whereby the Tourism Commission can expand upon its mission to attract increased visitors, which result in greater tourism revenue and economic gain throughout the state. And I stress throughout in that statement. I would like to work with the commission on this goal to make sure that our livestock shows continue to come to Nebraska and we keep our businesses and community thriving. A representative from GILCA is here to testify as of the details of this show, how these shows and how the competitive bidding process operates. I also wanted to note that I met with the Tourism Commission earlier this week and had a productive conversation moving towards a mutual understanding of where this program needs to be and whether the bill is needed to accomplish that. I look forward to continuing that conversation. Thank you for your consideration of this bill, and I'd be happy to try to answer any questions you have.
All right, thank you, Senator Aguilar. Let's see if we got any questions for you before we go to the proponents. All right, you're stick around for close. Okay, we need proponents to 1103. Come on up. Welcome to the Government Committee.
Thank you, Chairman Brewer, Senators. Thank you for the opportunity to come and talk with you today. Senator Holler, and I'll concede your comment about your district being one of the most beautiful and in the state, if you'll concede that we are in fact Nebraska's favorite island. Very good. Thank you. Thank you, Senator Aguilar, for bringing this forward to the committee here. The Nebraska Tourism Commission is an important and vital partner to us at the county level from across the state.
Could I have you state and spell your name?
Brad Mellema, BRADMELLEMA, Director, Grand Island Convention and Visitors Bureau.
Thank you.
Again, our partners at State Tourism are vital to the activities that we do at the county level to attract people to our particular part of the community, as it is for communities from across Nebraska. As such, they have some very successful grant programs. There's 2 programs that they offer at the county level, or for events, businesses, nonprofits to apply for events across the state. One of those is what is called a community impact grant. Those are what are, I would say, are larger dollar events that they've successfully helped finance various components of those to come to Nebraska. Examples might be ones that you've heard of, like the Olympic swim trials coming to Omaha, or the international equine competitions that are held at the CHI Center. Wonderful events, and rightfully supported by the Tourism Commission to get those events here. That particular grant program allows us to basically be reimbursed dollar for dollar between $25,000 and $250,000 for marketing or advertising those events. Okay, as Senator Aguilar pointed out, when we get a livestock show, it's not something that we advertise. If we get the show, the people come. And so our thing is to be competitive with dollars. And so we need to maybe think about not advertising to Kansas or Iowa that we're going to have these events, but to use those to help potentially with facility costs, bid fees, or those types of things that would attract those events here. And they're every bit as impactful in many ways as some of the large events that I just described earlier. And so again, we've been working with the commission very closely on this particular topic. There seems to be an openness to identify this particular issue and help us to maybe look at the way tourism has changed or evolved since perhaps these grant programs were established some number of years ago. And so that's the main purpose that I wanted to bring some clarity to you to understand how the business that we do in Hall County maybe is a little different than some of the business that we might find in some of where these dollars have predominantly gone to in the past. And so I will close my comments at this point and entertain any questions that people might have.
Let's run through real quick kind of your major ticket items. Okay, so you got State Fair. You got Fawner Park and the activities that come with that. You also, don't you have the National 4-H Shooting Championships?
We do. So just some example, you're rightly so. The National 4-H Shooting Sports Championships are held. That particular event, for example, is a 5-day event where 700 plus young people come from over 35 states to Grand Island to compete at the Heartland Public Shooting Park and at Fawner Park. Okay. So that's another example. We wouldn't necessarily advertise that on TV for people to come watch it, because when you get the event, the participants show up, and 700 plus your families, you're talking 3,000 to 5,000 people in our community over time. And so it's just a wonderful way to do events. Husker Harvest Days, there are other things that we're involved with. Of course, we mentioned the Nebraska State Fair, the Sandhill Crane Migration. We do big events very well in our community, and many of them don't meet the criteria set out in this impact grant. I've been in my position 11 years, and I just can't find a way to utilize and leverage these funds. And so that's why we're asking the commission to consider making this change.
No, hey, and everybody coming to Grand Island stops to fuel and all the things that it takes to get to Grand Island. So indirectly, it benefits the state. So.
And this is statewide. There's a lot of wonderful facilities across the state. And so many of our communities have opportunities to do the very same thing and maybe can utilize these funds in the same way.
Gotcha. All right, see if we got some questions. Questions. All right, thank you for your testimony.
Thank you.
All right, so we're on proponents for LB 1103.
Thank you.
Welcome to the Government Committee.
Good afternoon, Chairman Brewer and committee members. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Jana Sittler, Janasittler, and I'm the manager of the Grand Island Livestock Complex Authority. So I work specifically with the bidding of all of the particular events that come to the campus out at Fauner Park for the hosting by the Grand Island Livestock Complex or GILCA. One of the things I wanted to speak to is I am directly charged with the bidding process. So one of the things that I have to do is figure out a way to make sure that these are attractive activities on a financial perspective, as well as amenities that are provided to these organizations that are coming in. So these are very much national organizations, national events that are coming in, but at the same time, we have a lot of competitors in other states, as Mr. Mellema addressed, that are going to be in direct competition with us and continue to be in more direct competition with us. We're a very sought after facility. People like the location, people like the facility, people like what we do. But at the same time, there is many other options that can host those same types of events within a fairly small radius of us, and also maybe provide additional amenities or abilities to be able to serve them in a better fashion. So one of the things that I have to work with is not only making sure that we're financially competitive with them, but to make sure the facilities are competitive. Many of these competitors are addressing their issues with new facilities, brand new facilities, places like Denver, Colorado, where the National Western Stock Show is held, Louisville, Kentucky, where the North American International Livestock Expo is held, the Kansas City location where American Royal is held. Those are all our direct competitors, and they're all working on new facilities and major upgrades. In addition to that, they also receive direct financial budget lines and appropriations from their state entities. So one of the things that I don't have the luxury of working with is that, but they do. So that puts us in an even further direct competitive situation with them. So one of the things that I would like to address is that we do need the support to be able to provide not only the marketing and outreach services that we have to do, but also just maintaining and making it the facility attractive through being competitive with our funding. So I appreciate your consideration. Thank you, Senator Aguilar, for your work. And I would urge the committee to move this along and advance. I will take any questions.
All right, thank you. Question for you. When the flooding happened out there, were you guys able to kind of reset and rebuild after all of that without, holding up the ability to move forward on other stuff, or did it?
That is being addressed, and that is being working on currently. That will be something that will continue to be addressed and worked on, so it's not an impediment to what we're trying to do. That is a partnership with the State Fair and with Fauner Park to make sure that that is addressed, because it directly impacts my work as well and the events that we have there. But yes, that is something that is continuing to be worked on.
All right, so we have questions. Yes, Senator Rabel.
Thank you for coming to testify. Can you tell me, were you able to apply for and qualify for ARPA funds when the pandemic hit? And I'm sure a lot of your events had to be shut down.
Yeah, the ARPA funds, not necessarily for the events that we're hosting, but there were things for the campus that were able to be applied for and applied, but not for my events specifically.
And I just want to share with you, I hear the same concerns from the Lancaster County Event Center, now known as Sandhills Events Center, saying like, we're competing to get these national conventions, like, well, the U.S. High School Rodeo Championships. And they're doing the same thing, like our facilities just need to be upgraded to allow us to be competitive. And so this piece of legislation, would it give preferential treatment to those under the population of 100,000? Is that correct?
That's what I understand, yes. And so by the location that we are sitting in, that would be of assistance to us. And we don't have, even though we have the amenities and the ability to be able to serve the populace that comes in, and we're looking at sometimes 4,000 to 5,000 visitors that come in for one event. And they'll run anywhere from 3 to 10 days at a time. So we have, a pretty good attraction when people do come in. But so I would say that, yes.
Do you know, is there any fiscal note attached to this bill? Or maybe that's a question for Senator Aguilar.
That would probably be a question for Senator Aguilar if I can defer to him.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yep, thank you.
All right, any other questions? All right, thank you for your
Yeah,
testimony.
thank you.
Okay, any additional proponents for LB 1103? Anybody here in opposition? Anybody here in the new vote? You're in opposition?
Neutral.
Neutral, come on up then. All right, welcome to the Government Committee.
Thanks, sir. Good afternoon, Senator Chairman Brewer and committee members. My name is John Ricks, John Ricks, and I'm Executive Director of the Nebraska Tourism Commission, also known as Visit Nebraska. I'm here today to provide additional information that affects, or I would guess a better word would be, to inform LB 1103. There have been numerous conversations about expanding the definition of marketing in our existing grant program, specifically, as we've talked today, the Community Impact Grant effort. As been talked about, we recently met with the senator and staff, as well as supporters of the proposal, and one of our board members and chair of our marketing committee, John Chapo. We believe that we're in agreement about broadening the definition of marketing to include assisting applicants with costs for bid fees, venue rentals, and host fees to reduce expenses faced when destinations and organizations in Nebraska are recruiting these events. Just a real quick history, our grant programs, and this was established long before I was here, our grant programs have traditionally covered consumer-facing marketing efforts designed to bring people to the state, including advertising of all types, photography and video production, costs for creating content, websites, and on and on and on. But it's become apparent there are certain kinds of events that are more business-to-business efforts, where marketing for them simply doesn't include consumer-facing promotion, but requires funds to pitch, win, and then conduct the events that showcase their communities. You've already heard today about livestock shows in Grand Island, and we've also been working with Sports Nebraska, a cooperative group of 14 convention and visitor bureaus across the state who work year-round to attract sporting events of all kinds. The marketing efforts of Sports Nebraska members also focus more on the business-to-business aspect of things, where support is needed to learn about and then pitch and then successfully conduct these events here in the state. Because of this industry need, we've already been working on changes to our grant program. In fact, our board just yesterday approved the creation of a business-to-business marketing segment to provide the support that we've been talking about, becoming effective with our next grant cycle that is going to be announced October 24. Our grant programs have always been flexible enough to make adjustments to without changes in legislation, so we can react quickly what's going on in the marketplace, because the tourism industry is changing very rapidly, and it's very competitive, as you heard today. In other words, we're already making these changes based on industry input and are excited to see the results in the future. In our meeting with Senator Aguilar's office on Tuesday, we discussed the need to work together further to define the guidelines that organizations can use when applying for community impact grants in the future. Beyond the bid prices, there's a lot of other things. But we agreed that we have enough time before the next grant cycle is opened in October to determine these criteria. We're confident that the addition of business-to-business support will increase the chances for Nebraska locations across the state to be chosen as event sites in the future. I'd be more than happy to answer any questions that you may have.
All right, thank you, John. Let's see if we have questions for you. Questions for John? Yes, Senator Raybold.
So the grants would come from the Nebraska Tourism Commission.
Yes, we presently have two grant programs. And the community impact grant is from $25,000 to $250,000. And there's a lesser one from $0 to $25,000, which actually most places do use for marketing. That's our way that we can help seed smaller communities for little events and things, and it works really well. So the programs are really all in place. And I guess that the way I can explain this best is that Nebraska's tourism industry is waking up. We're kind of waking a sleeping giant here. And when that happens, in my 38 years of experience now, is other segments like sports, livestock shows, they say, hey, we have thousands of people coming here too. How are you helping me? And traditionally, most of the grant funds and other things have been really focused, and this is not only here, in other states too, on marketing efforts, bringing people, promotion. So I think that we're really excited about this. I think it shows that the industry is maturing more, that we have more needs to fund these segments, and that these changes will help livestock shows, Sports Nebraska, and everything else into the future. Yeah.
So currently, with the grant programs in place, what percentage of those grants go to, I guess, municipalities of less than 100,000?
I wish I had those figures. I can get them for you.
Yeah, because I know they're saying 35%. Like, how did they land on 35%?
Yeah, you'd have to ask the senator on that. But the thing is that the grant program is really used because it's very simple. Our guidelines are very simple. You don't have to worry about being a grant writer.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was in the wonderful world of CARES Act grant writing, and that's just frustrating. All you really need is a pencil and a pen and a couple pieces of paper to make these, apply for these grants. So we like that flexibility in things. We can get you the answer to those questions. But I can tell you that we do grant dollars from, there could be a small community out there who just asks for $1,000, and we can do that. There's communities in bigger, there's organizations in bigger communities, like Mr. Mellon was talking before, with the Olympics trials, they got $250,000 a year, and everything in between.
Mm-hmm.
And now I think that with these changes, we'll have the ability to help out a lot of organizations. The thing that pops into my mind, for example, Scottsbluff Gearing with the U.S. cycling gravel race last year. I know how much that cost. I've talked to them. This program could save them. They had to stick about 100,000 of these kinds of dollars into it, and dollar for dollar, we could save them $50,000 right off the top. So those are the kinds of things we're looking for, and I think this is the kind of thing that we can use opening this up. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, any additional questions? All right, thank you for your testimony, Joseph. Okay, we're on neutral testifiers for LB 1103. Any additional? All right, then we'll invite Ray back up to close. All right, Ray, welcome back to your government committee.
Thank you. Thank you. Let me start off by saying that I look forward to continuing to work with the commission. I'm really pleased to hear that they're expanding their thinking as far as other areas besides sports and things like that to look into and have grants. We feel real strong that we need this legislation in order to take care of communities out there like Hastings, Kearney, Grand Island, North Platte, the cities that don't always get the attention with the big grants going out so much to the bigger cities, Lincoln and Omaha. Nothing against Lincoln and Omaha, but that's just a fact of life. It happens, and we're doing everything we can to work our way back into the ballgame, if you will.
All right, let's see if we got any questions for you, Ray. Questions for Ray on LB 1103? Yes, Senator Rabel?
I was curious, how did you land on the 35%?
The whole purpose of that is trying to get a fair share for outstate Nebraska.
But this piece of currently with the existing legislation, Hastings can apply, Scottsbluff, Gearing can apply. There's nothing that prohibits them from applying. I guess it's, does the commission
And
make the
obviously-
decision on like, that's a worthwhile, yeah, that sounds great. Gravel grinding, that's awesome for cyclists. People love that stuff. So you would think that they would qualify for funding just based on the great project that they present to the tourism board, right? So there's nothing that says they can't apply now, and they probably do apply now.
And that's what we're hoping for, without a doubt.
But I guess I get concerned where you put restrictions at 35% off the top always goes towards this. And there might be, 10 times more worthwhile.
That's a
use-
minimum of 35%.
Minimum, okay. Yeah,
Okay, any additional questions?
no, thank you.
All right, well, with that, we will, let's see, read in. So we have no letters on LB 1103. So that will close on 1103, and we'll take a short break here to reset the room for an exec.
Okay.